Good morning, everybody. We are here today to talk about the notification bar plugin that you can add to your website that will give you the ability to put out a short message on your website. Really good to use. This is time of year is when we're start thinking about possible inclement weather and needing to close at the last minute. You can put a notification bar, a lot like those weather tickers that you get on the newscasts, that will tell anybody visiting your website that you are closed, that you have something going on. It could be used for announcing an event, but it's generally a short-term, quick message that you want to be very bright, very attractive, and very visible on your website. So we're going to start today with how to add this plugin or how to see if you have the plugin. And right now we are logged into the dashboard at Pepin Public Library, and has not had this plugin added before. So we're going to talk through how to add it. And so today we're going to begin with going over by the plugins on, and there's an add new button right there. Perfect. Click on that. And then over on the right-hand side is search plugins. And the plugin we are searching for is WP, as in WordPress, and then all one word, WP Front. Perfect. And notification bar. There it is. So when you see that pop up with the little black bell, click install now. It'll take just a second for that to install. And click activate. And as that loads, it's going to bring you right into the settings for the WP Front notification bar. This is going to be the hardest part of this entire bar, is going through these initial settings. So I have created a cheat sheet for you, and I'm going to put the link to that. If I pull up here really quick, I'm going to put that link in to the chat so that you have it. And of course I had it and then I just clicked away from it. So we will be going through this step by step today, and I will come back and review this. But part of this is also going to be getting this into you, getting this out there for you so that you can refer to it later and do your own setup. Okay, so let's take a look at the settings that we have in front of us. And we'll do some settings and then we'll do some preview on it so you can see what this bar actually does on your website. The first thing to see at the very top there is enabled. Do not check that yet. When that is checked, it will actually activate on your website and you will see it there. What you can check right now is preview mode. And if you click on preview mode, that means when you're logged in on your, oh, I have somebody logging in here. When you're logged in as yourself, as the editor of your website, if you have that preview mode checked, then you will see it as a preview on your website, and nobody else will see it until you have enabled it to view. So go ahead, Christy, and check the preview mode. Then the next one down, we're going to skip debug mode. That's not a big deal because we don't have any problems yet. The position for your bar is probably going to be at the top. I mean, I don't know anybody that probably wants to do anything more than top. You can put it down at the bottom, but that means somebody would have to scroll all the way down your page to see it. So maybe you might come up with a use for it at the bottom, but 95% of the time at the top. The next one is to click the fixed position button. The fixed position will make it, this is a choice and we'll see how this behaves. The fixed at position will make it sticky. So when somebody scrolls down the page, it will stay up at the top where you originally had it appear. So this bar is just going to appear across the middle of the web page or across the top of the page. If you make it sticky, it will scroll away. If you want it to stay visible, then do not check this box. So go ahead and we'll check this box and see what it looks like. That's good. Now we're going to skip down to position offset. Leave everything else default. Kind of in the middle, up just a little bit there. It's the one at the top right now. Yep. So position offset. This is where your mileage on your website may vary. And we'll look at a couple of examples after this to figure out how to get that set. But chances are, because the position offset is where it appears on your web page, and most web pages have a menu bar. And you want this to show up below that menu bar, otherwise it's going to be hidden. And it's going to be a little bit of a guess for your website to figure out where you want it. So let's start at about 170 points and see what that, or pixels. Let's see what that does when we do a preview on it. Okay, that's everything in this first section. Now we have to scroll down to our content. So scroll, scroll, scroll. Everything else can be left default. Now we have a section called content. And this is where you're going to put the content or the message that you want displayed on your website. So for today, we could do something like test message with the date so that we know that this is something we were messing around with today. Or something that you just wanted, we just want to see what this is going to look like right now. Perfect. Excellent. So then if you scroll down a little bit, eventually when this populates and you save changes, the message text preview will show. So why don't you click over there, Christy, on the right-hand side, there's an action that says save changes. Go ahead and click that right now. And then scroll up just, or scroll down to where the content where we left off. And that should appear in the message, below the message text now, there should be a message preview that has the test message preloaded in there. And so that's the content that will be appearing. Perfect. The rest of this basically stays default. There are a couple of advanced options. You can display a button that if you wanted, if you had a message that had more content, like if it was, oh, for our, I can remember during our construction project, we needed to have people park in a different location. So we could have added a button about where to go to park. And so it's like parking restrictions in place, click here for more information. And then it would lead it to some more information about where parking might be available for our, for that temporary time. But since today we're not going to do that, just know that that is an option, and that's where the display button, button text, and the button text preview would come in. For today, we're not going to do that right now. Scroll down next to filter. This is where you're going to set a time or set when your banner will be visible on your website. You can do a couple of different things. If you want it to be none, then it would be enabled anytime you click that enabled box way back up at the top. If you do a start and end date, if you know that you have an upcoming, for example, I know a couple of libraries close for in-service training or holiday closures. And if you wanted to set this up for Thanksgiving right now, you could put in your start time when you want this banner to appear. So let's say, Christy, are you closed for Thursday and Friday next week?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and say like start date, click in there and click Monday of next week. Maybe you just want them to know in advance. So if you click on that, and then if you, and a time for it, if you want it to appear at a specific time, but you could just say, 8 a.m., 12 a.m., noon. And then the end time, if you want to make that maybe next week, Saturday, or the next Monday, I don't know, whatever day you reopen. And time for that. Great. And then I would highly recommend leaving this as a default display on all pages. That way, no matter where somebody enters your website, where somebody goes on your website, this notification will be there. It won't be in their way. It'll just be there as a reminder that you'll be, that something is happening. Okay, now we get to scroll down, and there's also a display for all user roles. Keep that checked as default as well. So now we're going to scroll down to color. I do not know why the default colors on this are set as they are, because this is a very, the bar color that they suggest is a very subtle, a very quiet gray to black bar. If you really want this to appear on your website and be highly visible, we want to use some principles of accessibility and visibility. And so we're going to choose for, you can choose whatever you want, but for this example, we're going to choose a highly visible scheme. So where it says 8888 in that one there, Christy, can you type in after the hashtag the letters FAD 000, and then place that in the second box as well. What this bar default is set, or what the notification bar is set up to do in here is to have everything be a gradient within that bar. We're going to use the same color, so the bar color is a solid yellow. And when you click away from that and we save changes, eventually it will pop into yellow. But for the message text color, we don't want white on yellow. We're going to change this to black. And so that one is hashtag 6 zeros, 000,000. Great. The button color we'll leave alone for right now. If you were going to add a button, then you could come back and change your button colors. If just a hint, if you want to figure out what colors options are without having to know what their hexadecimal code is, click on one of those little colored squares and you'll see a spectrum chart pop up. There. See, instead of having to type in the hexadecimal, you can scroll through there and pick a color that based on that. But I'm giving you some starter colors to work with right here. Why don't you hit Save Changes right now, and we'll scroll. It'll bring you back to the top, and then just scroll back down, and you'll see what those colors previews actually are now. Okay, now we've got our yellow bar and black text color. The last section, we can skip this one, that CSS piece in there. We don't need to add any custom CSS. So again, we just did our save changes, but always a reminder whenever you're working in anything on your website to save your changes frequently. Okay, so now Christy, if you go up to your Pepin Public Library at the very top, right click on that and click Visit Site. Now we're going to see if this notification bar pops up. Okay, I think we did engage the preview mode. We may need to enable it as well for preview mode. I think that's what we have to do. Okay, so go back to the dashboard. And then back down to in settings. And now you're going to find your notification bar there underneath privacy. There it is, alphabetical. It's loading. Now click the enabled button at the very top. When it's in preview mode, yes, okay, that's right. You need to have both the enabled and the preview mode checked. Preview mode is an update that came out since the last time we played with this, so I forget. Click Save Changes now. Now it should be, if I go to Pepin Library, I will not see this. But if you go to your home page on Pepin right now, well, we're still not seeing our bar. Oh, because we set a date already. That's why. It is not going to show up until the date is set. Let's try that again. Down. Now click on none instead of the start and end date. And scroll back or save changes. And do this. There we have our bar.
Not bad.
Okay. Okay. So it's not bad. It is sticky, so it's going to stay there while you scroll. If you want to change that, then we go, and if we want to adjust a little bit on where it hits, if we want to try to get it a little closer to the bottom of your menu, I would say we're probably going to go back and change that or offset to about 150. And then we're going to change, you can decide if you want to change it from being sticky or from, let's see, so change that position offset there. Temp to 150. And you can decide if you want it fixed at that position or if you want it to scroll. What do you think?
I like it to be sticky. I like that
Okay.
when they have to scroll, it goes with them.
It's going to be right there. Okay, let's see what it looks like now. That's a little better. You could probably even play with it a little more, get down to 145-ish,
Mhm.
and something like that, and see if it gets closer to that top. This is
And
honestly the hardest part of the setup.
what about wider, taller?
Okay. If you want it wider and taller, then let's do that. Try the 145. So now what you see above you is the bar height, or above the position offset. So that we're setting right above is the bar height. The default of 0 means it will be the height of the text. If you want the bar to be taller, then I would play around, try 15 and see what that does. And save those changes. Oh, okay. Needs to be bigger. Needs to be like 25, I would think. Okay, that's getting closer, and you could go bigger yet if you like. Go big, go home. And as you dig into those settings, that's where you really have a lot more room to play. I'm giving you the very basic, like this is a very visible bar at the top. There's going to be more options for, like, if you want to customize and make it bigger, if you want to change the colors, you can experiment with that. But the defaults that I'm setting up here are available for you to play with and then move on beyond there. Chrissy, let's go back and just see what a button looks like, just to mess with that for a minute. And I think 90% of libraries are probably going to use just the notification bar. But if you go all the way down to, if you stop in content, right beneath the message text, there will be button text. So scroll a little bit more. So in the button text, if you click on display button, and then button text, something like click here, click for more information. And then, and notice down below, if you want it, the button action to open a different website, that you'll have to fill that in. Right now, we won't fill that in. It won't be a functional button. We're just going to try to get an example up there, unless you wanted to go to like google.com or something just to see how it would work. There, let's see what that looks like. And then scroll down a little bit more. The button color that is default is blue. You'll see that in the color section. We don't need to change that right now, I don't think, but unless you really want to get creative, you can come back and change that. So why don't you save changes and see what it looks like if you add a button. So this is where when you've adjusted your pixel size, you're going to have to play around with it a little bit more. But click on that and see if it goes to where we hope it goes. There you go. So then you would just fill in your destination link for your website. Okay, how do you feel, Christy? You think you can play around with that?
Yes, I think so. I do think this will be useful and helpful. Now, right now it's up there.
Yep.
If I want to, if I was doing a pop-up game thing,
Okay.
I would put that up there and I would put, come to the library 1 to 5 pop-up game day.
Sure.
And then 6 o'clock, I know that I'm going to have to take it off. Should we walk through that to,
Let's go down back to the settings in there. So tell me how you think you would make that work.
I would guess I would just uncheck the enabled button.
For
the
that is
box.
one option, but do you remember when we set it down in the time piece? So if you go down to, we ended up changing under one more section. Yeah. So that's what one thing about this is the scrolling is kind of annoying. There, right there. Under filter, back down just a little bit. Date type. So just like scheduling a post on your with the post scheduler, you can click the start and end date so that if you knew that you're going to have a pop-up a game day on school closed Friday, you could set this on Monday, enable it as long as you click the enable, but have the start time be like Thursday night or whenever you wanted this thing to be, and you want it to come down at 6 o'clock. If you click on that start and end date, it will give you a time option for when you want that post to disappear. Oh, that banner.
Okay, so
Does that
I'm
make
back.
sense?
Yes, it does. It does. So now I'm back to the Thanksgiving closing dates that I had put in earlier. So
Right.
if I go up here and,
Mhm.
well, take off the button. Oops.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Clean this up.
Clean that up a little.
Yep, take off the display button and
Perfect.
change this to,
Oh, and you have to type in the box above it. This is, it's
yep,
nice that they give you a preview, but
yes, I see the difference. I see the difference.
yeah, good.
So then closed for. Now, is more information, I know this is a quick down and dirty, but closed
Mhm.
for Thanksgiving Day, should I put the date in there?
I tend to be as specific as I can with the amount of space I have.
Okay, so closed for Thanksgiving Day. Double checking my dates and everything.
Yeah,
I believe that is correct.
believe so too. Yes, November 23rd.
Okay, so again, saving changes. And I know we will not see this because we have that time and date in there.
Correct.
Okay, and I needed to play with this a little bit more. I wanted it a little thicker.
Cool.
Okay. So now if I go back down here, just to look at it, taking off the date.
Yep.
So
And
that
what is nice is it does save that date. So it disappears when you check the other radio button, but if you go back to the start and end date, it hasn't deleted it out of there. So you can it is nice. You can kind of go back and forth. Okay. There it is. And as you scroll, that should stay sticky. And then you can.
Fine.
Okay. And one other thing in that text box, there was the ability to do some formatting of the text. So if you wanted to make that text bold, if you want to make it italics, there is a little bit more room for some customization in there.
These?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, this is going to require, go back down. It's going to require some minimal HTML coding. So do you see where it says strong at the beginning?
Yes.
Now click at the very end of it. Oh, I see. It's set up for the text editor. Click on visual editor. That's going to be better. Now highlight it and you can do the bold. Yeah, that'll clean that up.
No, it was.
Oh, there it is. Okay, and you can, so make sure the visual editor is selected unless you are good at HTML coding. Otherwise, you'll get half commands all over the place. Okay, now it's nice and bold.
Yes. Yes, that's very visible and will be a nice addition.
Awesome. Just a couple notes. This is a fairly limited text editor. If you wanted to change the text size, you really are left to deal with it as a header size, which doesn't always play super well with screen readers, but WordPress plugins being what they are, as long as this is a short-term notification, it is just something for those that are interested in website accessibility to bear in mind that that text, the text size, it is very tempting to choose a header size to change your text size, but it is because paragraph is the default. The way to change your size ends up being the headings. Those get read by a screen reader differently. So depending on how accessible your website is already set up as, it has the potential to be a little bit confusing to somebody who is reading it using a screen reader. But at the same time, again, it is a temporary banner, and it's something that is supposed to grab attention. So even if it's a heading out of order, it's probably not going to be the worst thing in the world because it is supposed to grab the viewer, reader, user's attention. So that's my accessibility, because I want you to be able to use it and not overthink it, but I also just want for those to bear in mind that that is a function. Don't just always go using heading as a way to change the size of your text. Okay. Anybody have any questions on how Pepins is set up right now? Okay.
Nope, I've been following along.
Cool. I'm going to take over the screen share. So if Christy wants to release it, I'm going to quickly share just a couple other pieces. Let's see, where's my screen? Oh, that's why, because I had this up. Okay, share this. I haven't refreshed. I did have this up here. Go away, bar. Okay, so what I've been referring to throughout this session, you still see my screen?
It just went black.
It just went black because it just switched screens on me. Let's try a new share. Try that. There. Okay, now you're seeing what I'm seeing, I hope. You're seeing the WP notification bar plugin training page or tutorial page, I hope. So for reference, this is what I put into the chat at the very beginning. This is the written walkthrough of what we covered today. It started with the adding it as a plugin, and then it goes through the setup. The one time should be set up unless you want to come back and tweak your colors for different purposes. Adding your message, activating it, and then removing the bar from your website. These steps are all saved in this tutorial. Just a note that for website plugins in general, there is another post that's been added that just talks about plugins as a more general topic, what a plugin is, what are the other things that we do with plugins. This one also talks through adding a new plugin. Just a note on plugins is that we try to encourage you to stick to the ones that we have tested and recommend, just because you can overbuild your site with plugins, and every plugin you add is another chance that something can go wrong with your website. So with having too many plugins, one of them could get updated poorly, it could go into conflict, and then cause either your site to run poorly or even crash it. So one of the first things we do is if a website does crash is we turn off all the plugins. And the fewer plugins you have, the easier it is to find the one that is causing the issue. The other thing about choosing plugins is that they come from third-party developers. And that doesn't mean that they're all created well, that they're well supported, and that their functionality is up to date with your version of WordPress. Sometimes, and so there's just some guidance here on how to select a good plugin for your website. You can always run it, send a help ticket, run it by us and see if we can take a look at it. If it adds a piece of functionality that you're really excited about and really could help you be efficient, we're always happy to look at some plugins for ideas. But this is really what we want to look is at who's the publisher, how many active installations are there, how recently was it updated, and is it compatible? And that it really serves a purpose that makes your website more functional. Try to use it for a more general purpose and not just a one-off idea. But again, if it's something that's going to make your life much easier and happier, we're happy to look at them. We are already testing some plugins, including some PDF display plugins and some other options. But we really want to make sure that functionality maximizes everything for most of our websites. And then this talks through working with plugins, updating plugins, and deactivating or removing a plugin. So this is all a resource on the library or the training.librarieswin.org website. And this video that we are recording right now will be added to the WP notification bar plugin. The other thing to know is that as we cover more plugins, they will be added under this plugin category. So there's some information on setting the future action on a post with the Publish Press Future plugin that we've been using, reviewing plugins through Site Health Status, and then embedding code also discusses how to use a plugin to get some information from a plugin onto your website. And sometimes there's an extra step that a plugin gives you a short code, and then you need to embed it into your website, as is the case with the Talkify calendar. Okay, I think that's what I had in my notes to cover today. Oh, I did want to show you just an example of like that having to play around with the location of a notification bar. The Tomahawk Public Library website, for some reason, is one of those that is really pretty tricky to get the notification bar in the right place. So we were really aiming to get it right in this space between the header and the slide bar. It took us a little bit of work to get it there. So just a reminder that you may need to be patient. Every website is different. So in this case, we had to actually do a position offset of 380 in order to make it appear there. And I'm going to go down. They just used it. And I'm just going to make this pop up on their website. This is from last week. So in order for it to hit between the space, we had to go all the way down to 380 pixels. And then also notice with the dynamic nature of our websites where things move as you scroll, it does move around a little bit. Oh, and this also brings up the other discussion of how does it look on a mobile website. On Thursday, our website discussion is going to be on responsive design and looking at websites on on different size screens. But here's a really good example of something to be thinking about. This notification bar specifically on the Tomahawk site, it is very responsive. It creates a really nice look right in the middle. It folds it over really nicely to adapt to different screen sizes, but it also puts it right in the middle of the header picture as the mobile device screen gets smaller. We decided since this is a temporary message and having a temporary banner, that having it cover up this wasn't going to be the end of the world for this case. But because of the responsive design, just be aware that your banner location notification bar may move relative to the size of the screen that a user is looking at. So on Thursday, we'll talk more about how you can adjust and think about viewing your website from multiple different size screens and devices, and to think about some of these plugins and add-ons and how they affect what your website looks like with different things. Okay, and I'm going to turn that off before Diana gets mad at me for having a notification on her website. Oops, filter. Okay. That is gone. Okay, so that's what I have for today. Any questions or any thoughts?
This is really going to be helpful for us. So thank you so much.
Good. Let's look forward to seasons of being able to tell people when we're closed because it's snowing. I'll stop recording there. Thank